Purpose of the Mastermind is to share our value and connect with like-minded people in order to create wealth in all areas of our lives.
We are here to inspire and challenge each other to reach and exceed goals.
Each member is committed to their own success as well as the success of every member of the group.
We are committed to meeting in person or virtually for 1 hour every week.
We are present. There is no multitasking or distractions during the meeting.
We are collaborative. We listen without interrupting, lecturing, or judging.
We celebrate each other's successes without jealousy.
We're honest and participated by giving thoughtful feedback.
We are open and listen to different perspectives without being defensive or offering excuses.
We trust fellow members enough to share fully.
We're focused, but we also think it's important to have fun during the meeting.
Indeed we do. We are real and authentic. This is a no BS zone.
We allow ourselves to become completely aligned with each other and the high forces, one mind, one soul, one love.
Beautiful. Okie dokie. Let me get rid of that off my screen. Shut that down there. Wonderful. Are we back to normal now? We can see the four of us?
Yes.
Yes, good. Okay, cool. So I'd love to know what your biggest win has been since we last spoke. So a couple of weeks now. What's been happening in your world? Anybody want to go first?
There hasn't been much happening around here.
Are you back in lockdown, Albert?
We have been for about a month.
All
They're
right.
talking about maybe loosening up some regulations here, but through Christmas and the New Year's and that, it was we're all in lockdown, and they even cut out like for shopping you couldn't buy anything that's unessential. Like in the stores they had, where you'd have toys or other things that weren't essential, it was all taped off. You couldn't purchase that. Some of it you could do through curbside pickup, but kind of put a damper on a lot of people's Christmas celebrations.
Yeah, wow. It's interesting how because we're not in that state here, in regards to where I'm at in Western Australia. It's interesting hearing the different things that are going on and what people are going through. And I actually heard something, and there's no what do I say here? There's no judgment or what's the word when you comparison. There's no comparison. So someone had said, oh yeah, well, just think back to in 1945 and 1941 when the war was on and people couldn't go out the homes, or they have to be in the bunkers and all that kind of stuff going on, which is a completely different experience. But there's like people today are saying, oh, it's so hard. But really, if it was to be compared, it's not. It's just a change. But it's an interesting change. And that, with you saying there around things being taped off, especially around Christmas time, and especially with 2020 being so heavy on that disconnection from a point of physical and externally, I think it's been such a significant mindset shift that a lot of people who are going through it, and for us on the outside trying to, who haven't as such been affected, trying to have some kind of, I mean, there's always going to be empathy, but trying to have some kind of understanding about it is interesting as well for not going through it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I really don't understand a lot of what's going on with it either. Like, because I mean, well, I live in a rural area, and there's not been many cases around here. Like, there's a couple, like a friend of mine, an electrician that I work with off and on. His daughter had tested positive for it, and I was asking her like him how sick she was or that, and he said, well, it really didn't hardly affect her. It was like having a cold. Meanwhile, you know, they hear of other people dying from it. So, but you know, of course, most of the people that are end up in hospital intensive care or passing away are elderly or have underlying health issues. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's hard to fathom like what the truth behind all this is.
Oh, we could open up a box of worms going yeah. Yeah, we could certainly dive in deep around that. But and at the same time, as much as it's going on, there is so much more available for us as well to be looking at and moving on around. But it is important that people are aware who are going through it. Like Beth's sister in England, she's in a 1-bedroom apartment in England, and she's not been allowed to pretty much go out since March. So just for essentials of shopping and a little bit of exercise, they've been allowed, and now the UK is going into full lockdown. So, you know, she's got no family there, not really many friends. So that in itself must be challenging. You know, but everyone's going through a different thing, and it's just knowing that there's, especially things like this, you can come on and be around people and have conversations and build those relationships, and that's going to help people as well move forward.
Yeah.
Carly, what about yourself?
Well, I'm just thinking, I don't know any wins either, but I do know. I know. Don't be shocked. I've probably got many, and I just don't recognise them or something.
There's a sunrise behind you. That's a good start.
It's a photo I took from the hill about 2 k's down the road on sunset, wow. And I just thought it looked so good going in all the rays of the sun.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, well, there's a win. The sun blessed me. But yeah, it's just so hard because so many people are in different dynamics, no matter where you are in the world. I mean, Melbourne went into lockdown for months, but the rest of us didn't really. Like no one else in Australia had this big problem, and now Sydney's having an issue, or it's starting to slow down again. So it changes every day, and all we can really do is stay connected to our own source, like and to what we desire. Like stay connected to your own home, your own center, and whatever benefit it is to be at home, stuck at home, really use it. Like utilize it, because it does have a benefit. Because when I didn't see mum and dad for months, and I had been overseas, I'd actually been in India when COVID started, not knowing COVID was even having an issue, and flying back home, found out that it's actually worse than we were told, because in India you don't get much info where we were, and so had no idea, and then had to isolate for 2 weeks. Never got COVID, but had that at least 6 weeks, if not longer, from seeing anybody, just to make sure with the kids, with school. I really went into my own lockdown.
Yeah.
And really enjoyed it, because when you go to places like India and you come back with this upgrade of vibration, you really want to sit in that and work with that in your body. So even though this isn't exactly the same, it's still giving you that opportunity to come home to self in a different way. And if you take that as the opportunity, even though the rest is crap, take that as the opportunity and just work with yourself. And like Martin said, get on the masterminds, or even because it's the start of the year, work out what your project you want this year to occur in a bigger way, and take this time to really nut into it, like go into it and sit in the stillness and take care of your body and enjoy taking care of your body.
Yeah, there's thanks for sharing there, Carly. I was actually having a conversation with a guy yesterday who's in the UK, and he's got some disease which actually is the symptoms are amplified based on around EMFs, so electromagnetic frequencies. So like Wi-Fi and things like that affect him. He can't put a phone to his ear. He just bursts out into a rash. So all these different things that are going on. And he's very much what society would class as down the rabbit hole, left-sided. And he's pulling out all this stuff and what's going on and why this is in place and so on. And there's like huge communities of people that have and break out, and they show what happens to the body through these experiences, or through these actions, like holding a phone to them or whatever it would be. And I was talking to him about the law of polarity in a way, and like dichotomies, and there's always got to be the polar opposite, the positive and the negative. There has to be. So when we were looking at what's been going on, and especially on New Year's Eve, I was amazed at how many. We were driving from here to Beth's parents' house, and it's only about a 30-minute drive, but it was amazing how many times it was brought up about 2020 being a crap year, and we're glad it was all going to be over. It's a disaster. And I appreciate that. There's no doubt about it. And I get it, and I've seen it. And like you said there before, Albert, you know, there's people who have passed, and in many cases, it's been elderly or people who already have some form of respiratory issue or a sickness or whatever it would be. And the conversations I've had with people, I haven't really dived in. I didn't even know about social distancing or any of that, because I don't watch the news. I don't really listen to the radio. I tend to listen to a lot of personal development and stuff, but we just happen to have the radio on, and they're saying this stuff. And I'm going, well, it wasn't. Like, it really wasn't. There's a percentage of people that struggled with it, and there's a percentage of people who thrived with it. And that's the good and the bad based on how we look at it. But for a lot of these people over here, they needed to experience that to know that there is more. That if that's rock bottom, if that's crap, then there's got to be something else. And I know that from my experience of like the depression, I was at the lowest of the lowest that I believe that I could ever go to. So the saying, and I was even listening to a lot of personal development back then, and I was still like crashing. And I've always said that those messages going in were just helping me stay, like just stay here. They were just giving me some level of confidence that there was something going to come, but I still couldn't see. It was still like there was, I was just in a dark room and I couldn't find the door, but I knew there was a door there, but I just couldn't find it. And so when I'm hearing all this stuff, I'm going, well, you now understand that when there is something that's good that happened, step into that level of gratitude. When you're around your family, when you get that moment to have it with your friend, when you wake up in the morning, you can have a Zoom call with somebody. Are you being grateful for that? Are you stepping into the energy and the presence of that? Or are you still going, oh no, it's all crap, it's all bad? Because right now you've got something that's happening right in front of you that's actually even better than what you're experiencing, and you're still staying there instead of starting to see all these things that are going on. So when I turn around and when I was asked the question, you know, what was 2020 like for you? I said it was absolutely fantastic, because it was another year of growth. Is it where I thought I was going to be? The answer to that's no. But hey, I had a vision of where I was going to be. That didn't happen because of some external factors, but a lot happened in other areas because of internal factors that have helped me become better. So am I a better version of myself on the 31st of December 2020 than I was on the 1st of January 2020? 100%. 100%. So then taking the time to reflect on that and say, well, right there is where the gratitude is to take place. Right there is where the success is. And I was reading at the moment, we're doing the law of success. And I read this bit from the book today. Success, there's so much here, but success is bringing oneself and one's actions to a standard higher than the ordinary human standard. Most of all the failures and defeats in life are due to mental blindness. When the heart is right, the head thinks right. All our acts are judged by our inner motives, not by the outer accomplishments. Out of the heart are the issues of life: moral cowardice, indecision, and critical moments, a desire to have one's own way, inability to cooperate, have shattered the hopes of millions. They have wrecked their prospects of success. To eliminate these mental handicaps is the first move for all who wish to aim high. Success depends upon adopting a true course, upholding what is just and right in thought and action. Adherence to the principle is most essential. Success is not a creature of circumstance, nor a game of chance, nor luck, for not until the golden rule is the basis of commercial activity can we be in harmony with the principle. And I was reading that and I'm like, wow, how many of us have chosen to look outside of self during COVID, in particular during 2020, and say how it's been a shit year. And I apologize for swearing, but that's where most people have been at. And the reality of it isn't, this is what I've said to people, I am only in control of what I choose to do, how I choose to think. That's all that I am in control of. So if I'm emitting out love, passion, confidence, authenticity, integrity, truthfulness, honesty, whatever, however we want to word those things, if that's how I'm being and how I'm behaving within, that's what's naturally organically emitting, and that will create a shift in the universe, in the world. That has to. But I can't change anybody else until I focus on self first. Well, I can't change anybody else, full stop. They change themselves, but I can't create influence for change to take place without starting with self. So when I was reading that today, it was just like, wow, especially with where we are at and where most people are at right now. Wow, it's the beginning of January, it's 2021. And what was really interesting was, especially with what happened, when I was listening to that on the 31st and they're saying, can't wait, woohoo, 2021 is going to be such a fantastic year. Do you know what happened the next day? Went into lockdown. Victoria closed its borders, New South Wales closed its borders, went into lockdown at the beginning of 2021. And that, if that is not a message to say, wake up, I don't know what is. UK went into complete lockdown. It's like, stop putting your power into the hands of someone else or giving it away. Like, full stop.
I love that. That is so perfect. We had lockdown, crazy. And it's starting to unwind a bit more. But yes, it's an inside job. And definitely all my life, up until the last 10 years, I've always outsourced my inside job. But the last 10 years, I've been doing my inside job. And this year, 2020 with COVID, allowed me to really hone in on my inside job. That's the benefit of being stuck at home.
And how do you feel through working on the inside, for knowing that you used to be out on the outside a lot, now you're on the inside? How do you feel about that, Carly?
Well, it took me a long time to practice that, because there's lots of shadows and, lots of work to be done. But in this last year, I've just loved it, because it's like returning to self-appreciation, self-acceptance, self-love, self-value, self-worth. Like, it's all the self parts because as I grew in that 10 years, it was about others still. But because of lockdown, I had to come back to fully self.
Yeah.
Not just halfway, like, because I was brought up with, you know, help others, always help others. But they forgot to mention to help self as well in that. Make sure you're valuing yourself in that. And so I always gave from my heart until my cup was empty. And you could say that was depression, but I didn't feel depressed. I didn't have that real low vibe depression, but it definitely meant I wasn't in a full cup that let me feel happy to enjoy life at its high vibration. I just went along and enjoyed life.
Yeah.
But it was still outsourced. I didn't choose to do anything and everything unless other people were interested. So I still didn't come from self-cup in my choices. So this year of COVID gave me an even deeper acceptance of my self-choice in everything I'm doing. Like even to join in today, I checked in, do I want to join in today? Like even though I wanted to, I didn't want to just join in because my mind and my heart wanted to. I decided to check in properly and make sure I was meant to.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you did.
And I checked for both masterminds and both said yes. So hence why I'm here. But I've got a cold and I actually was going to, if there was lots of people here, I was going to disconnect again because I didn't want to be on here with lots of people and lots of energy.
Yeah.
But hence I'm still here.
Fantastic. Well, as always, it's awesome to have you with us.
Yeah, so it's sort of that important. Like I know lots of people have passed on and a lot of people are sick and having a lot of symptoms, post-COVID symptoms. I do know there was a lady in Texas that I did an energy healing on. She was really concerned. She had a bit of asthma and lots of fear because I think she said about 40,000 people had picked up COVID in so many days. And so I did a healing and I did it while she was asleep. And when she woke up the next day, she had no symptoms whatsoever. And I said to her, you try to keep cutting cords from the matrix, the energy of the fear and all of the energy you're blobbing into. So that's how important we are to come home to self.
Yeah.
Like, yes, coming home to self is keeping us safe, secure from COVID outside our doors, but it's not that. It's coming home to self, changing our fear paradigm, our connection to the matrix that holds us in all of these paradigms of viruses and diseases of any kind, changing the whole thing by coming home to self completely. Taking care of self, nurturing self, taking the time for self, everything, even getting enough sleep, everything. It's that important. You're that important. Stan, Martin, Albert, and Carly Bolo, we're that important.
Yeah.
And our families are too.
Yeah, well shared, Carly. Thank you. That was that reminded me a bit of that conversation I was having yesterday, and how we often talk around transmitters and receivers, and what our actual makeup is as well as a human being, and how it can be affected by in many ways external factors. But that it's amazing how many people that I've spoken to who have given me scenarios. Like, for instance, one of my friends, his workmate in Victoria went to have a test and completed all his details before walking into the line. So they got all his details. He walked into the line and he was there for several hours, and they closed the testing clinic because it had gone past the time. There's that many people there. Yet he still received, so he never got tested. Yet he still received a letter to say that he had COVID. So the problem you've got then is that they have all these numbers, and the people who are listening to this information then start to create a level of fear, anxiety. Oh, it's spreading. I have maybe respiratory issues, asthma, or whatever it would be. They create this level of fear inside of them, which then manifests into something more. But are the numbers truthful? You know, and this is like my mum in the UK said, you don't hear, they're obviously they're in the winter. It's same for you over in the winter where you are, Albert. But my mum said, we haven't heard of one person having the flu. We haven't heard of one person, which you'd hear. We haven't heard of one person having pneumonia. We haven't heard of anybody having cancer. Every single person seems to have bloody COVID. Well, if that's all that they're hearing, that's creating fear. And therefore, people will be worried about it. And I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. But what I am saying is that we do have to go back to self and protect self. Because if we rely on other people protecting us, we've got a problem. It's the same as I've always said with a doctor. I go to the doctor for his or her opinion. It's actually a guy, and he's fantastic. And he knows that I'm holistic as well. So he'll give me a prescription and say, this is what I know it is. This is what I prescribe to you. But you go and do what you think is right for you. And he respects that, knowing that I'm going to go to the naturopath for another opinion and speak to her. But I'm also going to refer to my books and go, well, what's going in my life that's creating this in my life? Because there's something that needs to change. There's a form of imbalance right now. So I'm doing, and then I make my decision with what I would choose to do. And lo and behold, 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, when I come from that space, I actually heal it myself because it's me that created it. So if I created it, I can get rid of it. And some people go, that's a load of bullshit. You've got your tin hat on, but that's it's my body. I have to have created it. I have had to make it become weak for something to be able to get in and attack me, if that's the case. I remember Wayne Dyer saying that he had a conversation with a lady that got the flu or something. And he was saying about, I don't attract the flu. I don't attract any sickness. And she's like, what a load of rubbish. You can't say that. Are you saying that I asked for the flu? And he's saying, no, I didn't. I'm not saying you asked for it, but there's certain things that are going on in your life where there's an imbalance, and the door's open for that to come in. And it's trying to teach you a lesson. It's trying to wake you up to something. And she's like, don't believe it, not having a bar of it. So he made a bit of a joke around it and said, you know, whilst he's waking up every day, you know, I am well, I am healthy, I live my life in abundantly, and there's no room for anything negative to come into him. And then he made a bit of a joke and said, so if you're trying to get into me, the flu, if you're trying to come in and attack me, thank you, Beth. If you're trying to come in and attack me, there's no space for you. But there is a lady in Connecticut that is ready and waiting for you. Go to her, like if that's where she was from. And I remember him saying it, and everybody was laughing. And even she ended up laughing because she started to realize that the things she was doing in her life was opening the door for this to come in. Now, the problem we've got, based on where I've been sat, especially when we get into here, is that we go, well, surely that can't be right. Surely I have to be taking something to prevent that. And there's no doubt about it. There are things we can put into our body that help us. That, you know, good nutritious food, good clean water. Then we start looking outside of that in regards to moving the body, letting the body activating the lymphatic system, all these kinds of things that we can be doing on a daily basis. But at the same time, what's going on up here? How are we thinking? What's going on in our environment that's allowing us to have these thoughts? Hence why, you know, reading this shifted a lot. A lot of what was said there in the law of success was all around the way we think. and knowing that everything starts with a thought. So I'm feeling depressed. I've created that thought. I can only feel depressed if I'm thinking depression, if I'm thinking negative thoughts. And this is coming from somebody who had a knife against his chest. Like, I'm telling you exactly what it was like. But I also know that positive thoughts. And I know that when I choose to log on to Zoom and click start meeting, that what I'm going to receive is going to be empowerment, is going to be positive. Even though talking about COVID and the attachment to COVID is negative, the essence of the conversation is from a point of us moving forward and positive. You see how that's, it's just because it has two sides. It has to. Every single thing has two sides. Which side do we want to be on? And that's the question I always ask myself. Which side do I want to be on with this? I am respect and I am grateful for the negative. And I respect and I'm grateful for the positive. I have to be, because if I despise and I have no gratitude to the negative, then there's no balance. There's no balance, and you can't all be one-sided. And it's a challenge, because we're then shifting and going, hey, when I'm in that state of pain, am I willing to accept it and be grateful for it? When I'm lying there at the end of a yoga class and they're talking about meditation and there's 101 things going on in my brain around what I've got to do next when I leave here and the conversations, I know I forgot to do that before I came here. Am I being grateful for that interference when I'm trying to focus on being completely still and nothing in the mind? Because it's there for a reason. Now, the old me used to go, bugger off. I'm supposed to be not thinking about anything here. I'm supposed to be chilling out. But once I started being grateful for it and think, thank you for reminding me about that, I'll deal with that later, it just started to go. It didn't keep showing up as intense or as often. Is there anything that's coming up for anybody around this? I know that we've been discussing around COVID, but as I've said, it's how we're choosing to view it and see it and move forward with it.
Well, I started reading a book, or listening to a book, I should say, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Yeah.
I don't know if you read it.
I've got it, but I've not read it yet. It's sitting there talking to me.
It's a very good book, and in the first or second, I just finished chapter 2 on it, but they were talking about how sometimes a positive experience can actually give you a negative outcome, and whereas accepting a negative experience is more of a positive outcome. I thought that was kind of interesting and fairly true.
Yeah.
There's a lot in that book that I've only, like I say, I just finished the second chapter, but it sure screamed out a lot of good information to me, I thought.
Well, with that as well, Albert, I wasn't sure whether I was actually going to make the call for the simple reason that one of my best friends, I'm very fortunate. I've got several best friends, but one of my best friends here, he's a Christian, and he's very much about God. And the reason why I'm saying this is because he recently got in a new relationship with a girl who's also part of, and I think she's not part of his church, but she's a Christian as well. And they came together, and within 2 months they were talking about getting married. And they said, God's told us we're supposed to be together. We're supposed to be getting married. This is everything that's going on. Well, I'm not. I respect that, but I'm not attached to that. So I was really curious. So I'm asking loads of questions because I want to know how it is that this has all come about. And anyway, what I was noticing with my friend was that he was not being himself. he was so disconnected from who he truly is that it actually pained me to be around him. And at my birthday, my surprise birthday, he came for the weekend, but I was sat there, and he's always in the group, and he's great energy, and he was right out there, as far away as you could be, sat there with his partner, and she's great, she's good energy, she loves to be around, but he was trying to fit into this box. Anyway, I found out this morning they had separated. They had got engaged and everything. They were planning the wedding. They got engaged, and anyway, they've separated. And it just made me realize about relationships, especially with that I've experienced, that during that time, exactly what you said, during this time right now, this experience that he's going through, it would be classed as a negative. It would be classed as painful and going through the emotions. But there's a positive to it. And if they get back together, which is perfectly fine, that's their choice, all being well, he will get back into that relationship, and maybe they've broken up because he was his true self when she met him, but he gave away his values, which became voids, and then she disconnected to him and goes, this isn't the guy who I liked when I first met him. So, and this is what I know that I've experienced. When I came to Australia, I didn't want to be with a girl until I bought a house and got settled. And I said it'd be 2 years. Within 6 months, I had met the one. Okay, I had met the one, and everything was amazing. And I got a house with her, and everything was going fine. But then I went through a journey of depression, and all the stuff that was going on that materialistically and up here, and my mates in the UK were like, wow, you have the perfect life. You've got a great job, you earn a lot of money, you've got a gorgeous fiance, you've got a house which is like 5 minutes from the beach in one of the wealthiest suburbs in Perth. You've got a motorbike, you've got your trucks, you've got all this stuff. And my mate's like, you've made it. And I'm going, and I remember at the time, and I went, yeah, it feels all right. Now, I hadn't gone through anything. I hadn't gone through the depression. I wasn't doing personal development. This is just where I was. And I often refer to it as I was existing. And it was only when I shifted and went through what I went through, and I was gutted because Nikki and I had broken up, but then I met Lauren, and Lauren was just on another level altogether. So what I realized, and even when Lauren and I broke up, which we were together for about 2 years, when we broke up, I mean, we're best of friends, but when we broke up, all I had was faith, because I had gone, wow, in reflection, all the relationships I had with girls in the UK, when I was with Nikki, and then I went on to Lauren, every one of them was better for me, which then my attitude was like, well, who's coming next? Who's the next person I'm going to get into a relationship with? And I wasn't striving then for that relationship. I actually got to a point where I said, no more. That's it. I'm actually going to be single, and I'm going to find connection with self, because I was constantly chasing the girls to fill an empty hole, to fill a void, which then means that I'm relying on them. And if they're not with me anymore, then I've lost a piece of me. But no, so I focused on filling my own cup. Therefore, when I got into a relationship, I was getting into a relationship because I wanted to and because I didn't need to. Therefore, I was showing up as the fullest version of myself. And that's of value to that person, knowing that should she choose to move on, I'm still fantastic and fine, because I filled my own cup. I am whole. Instead of 50 and 50 trying to make one and one make it complete. So that was a big lesson. So when I'm like hearing this morning, and I messaged him before I got on the call and said, hey bro, I'm here for you. You need me, just let me know and I'll be there. All that's going through my head is something good is going to come out of this. Like, that's all I was going through, because he'll either connect back to his true values himself and shine for the bright light that he is, or you'll get back with her and things will change. Things will have to change because otherwise they'll keep breaking up. But also the question of, if you had that conversation with God and God told you, based on your faith and based on the story, and God told you, you are to marry Lily, and Lillian was told exactly the same, you are to marry Jeremiah, and this is when it's going to happen. Why is the separation there?
Do you want an answer?
You can give me an answer if you want.
Or do you already know it?
Well, the
Well, you've
separation
just
is there because of self, disconnection to self.
And you've just explained it beautifully anyways in your story then, because when he showed up for her and he obviously likes her a lot, or he wouldn't have got engaged. Yeah, that the mirror didn't meet. It met to start with because they were authentic, but then because we've all got wounds, because we've all got shadows of our upbringing to clear, or our own emotional traumas to clear, sometimes we need a certain person to come into our life to even show us those mirrors. And then whether they work out, whether that relationship works out or not, is up to both individuals. It's not like just because you've come together, let's stay married anyways. It's about you growing, and if you're not growing in that relationship, you have to move on. Back to the laws of Mr. Proctor, you have to keep evolving, and you can't stay stagnant in a relationship that doesn't meet your vibration. You can if they're willing to grow as well and take initiative, but you're not responsible for the other person to make those choices. You're only responsible for yourself, no matter whether you're married or not, in any relationship. Otherwise, the relationship becomes depressed. You've squashed your joy, your life's not so fantastic. And that's when disease comes in. Because when joy is squashed, disease has an opportunity. And it's an internal joy. It's not the external joy. So it's not about buying the brand new home on 5Ks from the beach and all of that joyful experience of being engaged to this amazing woman and having an amazing job that has a 6-figure, 7-figure outcome a year. It's got nothing to do with any of that. It is the internal joy. Yes, those things bring joy because you've received them, but it's short-lived. It's the internal joy of having an overflowing cup that allows you to live life every day. And if all those other material things left, like you said, Martin, you would still be in filled cup of love, joy, the true connection. And the next day they'll create again.
Yeah, beautifully shared, Carly. And I remember, so my mate in England who said all of that stuff around "you've made it" and so on. It doesn't get any better than this. And I know he was saying it from a place of love and totally happy for me. But after I went through what I went through and I like restructured and stuff, I remember a couple of years ago he asked me. He rang me and he said, "I just need to know one thing." I was like, "Yeah, well, what's up?" And he goes, "Are you happy?" I was like, "Mate, yeah." He's like, "No, but are you really happy?" I'm going, "Yeah," because I didn't have any of that anymore. I didn't have all that stuff. And I was single and I was just like living over here and doing my thing. And I said, "Do you know what, mate? I'm the happiest I have ever been. I don't need all that stuff. I don't need all because he had come over and seen what I had and all that kind of stuff. And I said, I don't need it all. I've realized that I don't need it. But I'm happier within." And he was like, "Well, that's all I needed to know. If you're happy, that's all that matters." So I'm getting quite emotional, but that's the thing. I remember when I used to work away, and I was on the 6-figure income. And I remember being home and I just stepped into network marketing And I said, and I did the first home presentation and all that. And I said, so it was 2013, I think. And I said to these people, I didn't even know who these people were because they were my partner's friends. And I said, you know what? I work away and I earn a good income. I have a great job that I love. I absolutely love where I work. But you know what? I'd be happy to earn 30,000 a year and be at home and just have a relaxed life. And what was really interesting about that was when I said it, I really felt calm, but I was looked on as, you nuts, especially in Perth, because it's the most expensive city in Australia. You wouldn't last very long on 30 grand a year. You'd be struggling. But at the same time, well, especially with where I was living and what I had, but at the same time, a couple of years ago, we had overinvested in our business that didn't work out. Heavily overinvested. Everything we earned, we just put back in. Instead of going to the bank for funding, we just had faith it was all going to work out. And we flew right past zero. And because of what we committed to, we just kept pumping more and more money into it. And then credit card money and so on. And we just, we were beyond broke. Broke is zero. We were beyond broke. But through it, I never feared, never got antsy about it. It's like I was still showing up and in a state of love for others, love for self, love for what was going on, gratitude all around it. And because the vision and the faith in where we were going. Now, we didn't get the result we intended, but how we grew through that helped us then shift and build something far, far better than what the vision originally was, which has helped us help far more people. And then right now, and it's also helped us get to the point where, next month we're on the road. So that freedom and that desire to achieve the goal, even though the plan that we had hit a bloody big brick wall financially, what we gained were the skills and the tools to actually build what we truly needed to build to make a bigger impact. And that's why just having that faith has been the key. But also the way that they think, like that going, hey, am I going to let this beat me up? Now, my business partner is very much a numbers guy, spreadsheets. So he would be constantly checking in and fearing about it, whereas I'm not. And I'd be going, hey, is what we're doing today aligned with the vision and the mission? Because if it's not, we're off track. But if it is, we are going in the direction we want to go. And even in the laws of success, I think Bob Proctor said it because I've been reading the book, but I've been listening to the audio. But it was like, stop thinking about money. Stop thinking about the finances. When you start worrying about the finances, everything collapses, everything crashes. But what are we taught to do? The finances, money, 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 money. And all of a sudden, we get caught up into this trap where we look at our bank account or we've got bills coming in. One of the things I did at the beginning of last year was a money mastery course or mindset something. And they were like, be grateful every time a bill comes in. I was never told to be grateful when a bill comes in. Well, what I grew up with was, how are we going to pay this? Have we got the money for this? But when the bill comes in, be grateful that, wow, thank you for this bill, because it's allowed us to have the electricity to heat the house up, to cook the food. But all we do is we go straight to the numbers in the bottom corner and like that thing of opening the menu. Do you look at the menu from left to right, or do you look at it from right to left? If you're looking at it from right to left, you're looking at the prices before you choose what you're going to eat. If you're looking at it from left to right, you choose what you want and you go, okay, it's that amount. I'm willing to pay that for that. Most of us go right to left.
I'm just thinking, I got Ian to buy me some celery, and it was organic, And I said, oh, how much was the celery? And he goes, I don't know. I don't look at the price. I just buy what you tell me. If you want organic, I buy whatever's organic. And I'm like, isn't that hilarious? Because I'd go, oh, how much is this today? Like, what price is this organic stuff?
Yeah.
Instead of just buying it, he just buys it and never worries about the cost. Even if he can't afford it, he just buys it. I thought, I've got a new paradigm to change. But I'm enjoying your share, Martin, because it just shows that I don't want to use the word COVID, but it has helped people, if they really want to awaken their consciousness, to go deeper into self, look at what they're stuck in while they're stuck at home, and change their paradigm and change their success for this year. So it really, your story really sits well with that. Like, gratitude definitely is the key, because even hearing you say that word makes me inspired to make sure I'm being grateful in certain areas, because I don't think of the bills, but definitely all of it is gratitude for every little part, even while you're eating an apple, or even while you're filling up a bathtub with water. Like, grateful we have everything we do have.
Absolutely.
And then that, like, the vibrational match of the universe that you want in your life, when those relationships fail, if you've upgraded and the other person hasn't, and the relationship fails, or vice versa, they have and you haven't, generally that makes the other person look at themselves and they start to change their ways. And when you look back at that relationship, you think, oh my God, they've changed so much. Like, they're now into this, this, and this. And they weren't like that with me. And that's what I wanted. But they've changed because they've realized that they need to upgrade themselves. Like, they have been stuck wanting you to do everything, or vice versa. And so then when you change the mirror, the energy of the vibration of the universe matches that, and they send you someone different. Like God, I don't want to say God, the universe sends you someone different, because, and not it's not even that, it's you have changed your vibration, and that brings and attracts like vibration. And so you naturally move on.
Yeah. It's actually interesting you saying that, Callie, because I met a girl I'm in the Vegans in Perth group. So and someone did a post where, what suburb are you in, and so on. And anyway, I was like, oh, I'm in Victoria Park, and this other girl said, oh, I'm in Victoria Park as well. And we connected, and we hung out for a while, and we got together a bit, but she kept like arguing and sending me these messages that were just a bit, she was just arguing basically. Well, I wasn't. Well, you need another person to argue. It's tough to argue with yourself. Well, I wasn't, I'm like, but I responding, and she said to me, I went to a friend of mine who's older, and I showed her the messages. And my friend turned around to me and said, you need to let him go. And she went, what do you mean? He said, he's vibrating far higher than you are, and you are not willing to rise up and meet him. You're remaining down here, and in times you go even lower. And he is not coming down to meet you at that vibration. So if you're not willing to rise, you need to let him go. You will not have a relationship with this guy. And it's really interesting because the previous relationship, which was with Lauren, she actually came to me and said, I am stopping you from doing what you're here to do. I know I am. And I can't give you what you need. I need to let you go and open your wings. That was literally what she said. And I had about a 5-day emotional release where I was physically shaking in bed and crying and going through this huge release. But I knew that it was right, but I didn't want to let it go. Now, when I heard this from this other girl, I had seen her in the shops probably a year later, and she said to me, he said, oh, do you know what? I met this guy and I'm so happy with him and so on. And you know, all I do is wish you well. And I'm like, you know, all I ever want is for people to be living the life that they want to live. I have no attachment. I have great friends with ex-girlfriends and all that. I don't believe I have enemies because I don't create enemies in my mind. If people don't want to speak to me, that's their choice. But I'm always willing to speak to them. And because it all has to come back to the law of forgiveness. And I've learned to forgive self and others during or through my life and my experiences. And it's just empowering to hear that, especially based on what you said, Carly, because that's the key. The key is around raising that vibration, coming from a state of gratitude. And even like the abundance game, even going into Noble Goldman there, and before I got on this call, I had said what I was grateful for, and it was about reading that chapter around the law of success, about what I received. And I think it's something like, I am grateful for people choosing to share their teachings to help me grow, right? So what am I doing? I'm doing exactly the same right now. Because I'm in a state of gratitude from that, I'm sharing things that I've learned and experiences that whether it helps either of you or it gets shared later on with somebody else or somebody else watches this later on. Like, what a gift to be able for us to show up and share where we are right now that could help somebody. But even that gratitude thing where I find that a lot of people, or some people rather, they're like, oh, but I don't have time for gratitude and I don't know what to do. I don't know what gratitude is. And one of my friends, he was like, you know, if you're not sitting in it and you're not feeling it, you're not doing gratitude properly. And I'm like, I get where you're coming from. But at the same time, if I spend a moment to write something in a journal or say, hey, I'm grateful for this, that right there is a moment that I took to say, hey, I am grateful. Therefore, that can only have a positive effect on me. And if I'm putting it out there, that can only have a positive effect. Yes, being present and going deeper with it will amplify it. But still, to have that thought can only take us in one direction.
Yeah, that one statement, one moment in time, I'm grateful for this, one thought, values you so much. It's not funny. Like it values you so much. That is the start of something that will bring you an experience you're searching for outside of you, but by just stating that statement is enough. Yes, we can go into more silence and really be more grateful and feel into it and go a bit deeper and own it a bit more. But just even starting with that, like you're saying, just that statement is enough to get started. And months or weeks later, however long it takes, then you do start going into self.
Yeah.
Like that small step is enough to get true value of self. And mirrored and received back from the universe because of the vibration it changes just by having gratitude.
Beautifully shared. Is there anything you want to touch on, Albert? Anything coming up for you?
Well, not really, no.
I know you like to listen.
Well, you're given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Feel like you're telling me to shut up.
No, not at all.
the thing that what challenged me, probably I'm going to say 2 years ago, was I was very much in a state of doing, action taker, just get it done, what's next. And when I heard about slowing down, doing gratitude, reading books, I mean, I was an audio person. And the reason why I was an audio person was because I could do something else at the same time. So whereas a book, you have to sit there and read a book. Well, I don't want to sit there. So that's where, and that's understanding the different personalities, the ways we are. So it was a challenge for me to sit down and read a book or read a chapter, whatever it is. And even though I enjoy it now because I become calm and I'm relaxing, which is good to re-energize my body and mind. The challenge I had was I still thought I always had to be doing stuff. So what was interesting, and it was even mentioned by Raymond Hollywell in this book, that I didn't realize I was strangling my own success because I felt that I should always be doing something and changing something based on taking action. Well, what I learned and what I've realized is that when I chose to wake up in the morning and just take some time to be grateful, when I chose to go and exercise and nurture my physical body, when I chose to spend time with friends, when I chose to be looking at my goals and visualizing and doing affirmations and so on, that time that I would spend out of my day doing those things which filled my cup and were aligned with my values, yes, it reduced the time I had what I would class as working. However, I was not strangling what I was doing anymore, and it grew organically at a far faster pace. But the second that I was like, oh, this has gained momentum, I need to focus back on this, all of a sudden, I'm disconnected to my values. My physical health it takes a back seat. My relationships take a back seat. All of a sudden, the business starts to slow down because I'm smothering it. I need to let it breathe. And I read that in the Law of Success, and lo and behold, it came back into my life. Now, I've been saying this for the past couple of years based on that experience and based on what I learned. And I read it again today and I went, right, there's a reason why this has come up again. Where am I suffocating my life, my business? Where am I actually disconnected? And I know straight away where I am. But I don't beat myself up about it. I go, right, solution mindset. What am I going to do about it? What are you doing? What's not working? What is working? What can be improved? That's it. 3 questions. Okay, well, this isn't working out for me. What can be improved about it then? What can I do differently? And so it's not there's never any state of attack to self. It's like, okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that lesson. You know, I'm not, none of my clothes at the moment are fitting me. So there's a reason for that. I've chosen, like, we're packing the caravan, and like at the moment we're out of this house in 22 days or something. So we're out of this house. So we're going into a caravan, and we're only going to have a very small storage container for essential things we want to keep, like documents and so on. Everything else is going. Like Facebook Marketplace is getting battered at the moment with all my ads of all stuff, because some of it's free and some of it is of value, so it's a fair exchange. Well, I'm going through my clothes and Beth's like, what do you want to take? I'm going, well, I better try them. And oh no, they don't fit. But in my mind, I'm going, hang on a moment. That your size right now is the result of you not looking after your body. You have never been this big before because your physical health has always been one of your highest values. So why has your physical health, or the value of it, been neglected? And the reason for that is because I have been so involved in doing my work. So when we're in the caravan, even though I'll be driving a lot, there's still going to be time, and Beth wants to be training. She's training for a marathon. So I need to be training with her to help her, because especially she'll be off running in areas where there's no one around. It's fine running around the city area, but when there's no one around, anything could happen. So I need to be out exercising with her, which means I'm going to get back into a better shape. So all of a sudden, I've got this thing of, should I keep these shorts that don't fit me right now? Should I keep this t-shirt that doesn't fit me right now? Because I'm going to get into it. So I'm creating this thing of, I will get into this. But at the same time, am I holding on to things which then are which are taking up space that needs something else to come in? Do you see how what can be challenging is the more you get into it, the more you're like, bloody hell, this is so hard.
Isn't it funny how we're so quickly to want to get rid of clothes that are too big for us, but ones that are too small, we figure we can get back into.
Yeah, we like the challenge, Albert.
I guess so.
But that was it, and I was like, do you know what? No, there's a reason for this, and I want to know the reason. And it was just a case of disconnected to a value. That's all it was.
Yeah, and in that, was it a disconnect to value because in the first place, when you first started exercising, you overdid your value?
100%.
And now you've gone the other end of the polarity where you've let yourself go a little bit, but realistically, you now know what would suit you best because you've had both experiences, plus you're supporting Beth.
Well, what I've learned from that is my personal reality. My personality shows that I am all or nothing. So I'm one side or the other side, which means where's the balance? So I've experienced the body that I can get on stage with and compete with it should I want to. And right now I'm experiencing the body that I've never seen before in 40 years. Now, this is judgment right now that's taking place based on myself as to where it is. But there has to be a reaction for every action. So, and it's not me beating myself up, and there's no judgment to anybody else as to their size of stuff. But I'm looking at this and I'm going, isn't this interesting? There is a result from this. So when I look back and I go, do you know what? I've enjoyed those beers. I've enjoyed the cake. I never used to drink at home. I had 2 years of no alcohol, but I never used to drink at home. I've been drinking pretty much every night. So there's these things that, and I'm not going to beat myself up because I've actually enjoyed it. But the result physically has led to where I'm at right now, and that I don't fit into clothes. So it's another lesson of, hey, how are you behaving? And what I've realized is there's nothing wrong with having a beer if I want to have a beer. But how many am I having? And what am I actually going out and exercising each day? How do I feel when I exercise? And the answer to that is I love it. I actually enjoy it. I thrive on it. Well, when I'm sat doing work and typing emails and creating things, do I enjoy it as much as I enjoy exercising? Do I enjoy the result of sending the email as much as I enjoy the result of putting on the boardies that are my favorite boardies that I've had for 11 years? Like the answer to that is no. So what then needs to come to create that balance? The email, the people don't need the email as fast as they've sent an email. They don't need it responding immediately. But where my mindset is I want to help this person get the result that they want. So I need to sacrifice my own happiness for that. And in doing so, I get to a point, and this is all obviously my reality right now, I've got to a point where I've gone, hang on, I put them before me, and now I'm out of balance.
Yeah, so Martin, is that your win for the end of, for 2020, start of the year? Because you had 2 weeks off from the mastermind, which gave you what you're talking about. You chose not to commit any further to the business for 2 weeks and gave yourself a holiday. Would you say that's your win? You actually brought a bit more balance into your personal self spaciousness?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was kind of told that I shouldn't do them. Because,
I thought you might have.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to add that.
There was a question which kind of already had an action, a told action in it of, are you really going to do those masterminds? And I was like, oh, I think I'm supposed to say no here. But because of things that were already organized, but at the same time, exactly what you said there, Carly, because I decided that I wasn't going to do them. One, it created a space where you chose to show up and facilitate there, which was fantastic, because that was always my intention anyway, to allow it to create a space. But also, it allowed me to connect deeper with Beth's parents. And because the caravan and car were here for a small week over Christmas for me to do work on, it allowed me to get work on that, which is important for the trip. So when I look at the win, 100%, as much as I missed this connection and the conversations, I was stepping into things that are also important in my life, instead of stressing out that, oh, I haven't got time to do it. There is time there. I've just got to prioritize and sometimes step away and go, hey, this call can still take place without me being here. I am a part of this call. I am not the call. That's it. I am no more a part of this call than either of you on this call. I don't see myself as any more than that. I tend to tend to talk a lot or create the topic and start the call, but I am no better than anybody on this call. And that's my action, but that's my attitude towards it all, rather.
Yeah, so the win for you personally, with emotionally, win internal, what would that be?
The emotional win internally, as in a word?
Or a feeling for the last 2 weeks, now that it's complete and you're back on?
Well, the two words that come up are love and respect for self.
Yeah, I want to hear it for yourself, not for anybody else, because that's how important it is.
Yeah, love and respect for self. And even actually, this, I think one of the big things as well, before we wrap this up, is, and I'm going to be reviewing my goals and so on in Noble Goldman, but even checking in, and I've still checked in pretty much every day. I've checked in on the abundance game, and actually going in there and scrolling through, I think there's like 20 odd goals on there, scrolling through them and seeing, and then actually ticking on some of the boxes has been so empowering to just see that and realize, hey, even though I wasn't doing the calls, the modifications to my 4-wheel drive are a goal. So I was still doing the goals. The caravan stuff on the caravan, ticking the box on that and adding the time, still a part of a goal, instead of scrolling down to the same ones, masterminds, Noble Goldman team support, like those things. I was always just scrolling down and going, oh, it's towards the bottom. But now it's like, actually, because I was doing something different, I had to go through them slowly. And it was really rewarding to see, one, what goals I'd put down and what I was achieving, and 2 or 3, because my fingers are going fast, 3, going through and going, hey, I actually have done that. And that's important for the next stage of what we're going to do. Not just the Noble Goldman community members, not just all the email sequences and so on. Like, and that's where, once again, that thing of putting all your time and effort into one, and there has to be something that loses out. So it's just being aware of it. Going to have to wrap this up because I just realized the time, but thank you so much for your shares and showing up today. It's been fantastic. As always a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your evening, Albert. Great to see you, buddy, and all the best for 2021 and beyond. Looking forward to more masterminding.
Yeah, all the best to both of you. I hope 2021 brings all the best that it can.
Absolutely, mate.
Thank
Absolutely.
you too.
So I'll see you on the Gold Star call shortly, Carly.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Albert.
Bye for now.
Thank
Bye.